Have you ever wondered how Pan-Africanism emerged? This powerful movement reshaped global dynamics. Let's explore its journey from colonial oppression to continental sovereignty. Pan-Africanism started as a response to colonial realities. The Berlin Conference of 1884–85 divided Africa into various colonial states. Over 10,000 ethnic groups were torn apart. This created two urgent needs: a psychological counter-narrative to racism and a political framework against colonialism. W.E.B. Du Bois was crucial in this ideological shift. He transformed the mantra from "Back to Africa" to "Africa for Africans," at home and abroad. His key manifesto, presented in 1900, highlighted the urgent need for education and legal equality. The Pan-African Congresses from 1919 to 1945 laid down critical foundations. For example, the 1919 Congress in Paris pushed for international oversight of former colonies. Then, in 1945, the Congress became a turning point. Young leaders like Nkrumah and Kanyarwanda called for self-governance and demanded independence. This movement deepened with figures like George Padmore and C.L.R. James. They introduced a Marxist critique, arguing that colonialism extended beyond racism to exploitative economic systems. Padmore's major work illustrated how colonial rule operated as a racketeering system. Kwame Nkrumah took the ideology further. He led Ghana to independence in 1957, setting a continental example. His manifestos emphasized a united Africa. He argued that Ghana's freedom was meaningless without collective liberation for all African states. The idea was simple: divided, Africa remained weak. United, it could thrive. Nkrumah envisioned a United States of Africa with shared governance and defense. His non-alignment approach sought a third way, independent of Cold War binaries. Nkrumah's legacy included significant institutions, such as the Organization of African Unity, an essential step toward continental unity. Any attack on a member state would be viewed as an attack on all. Pan-Africanism proposed a unified identity. Colonial powers divided communities using identity politics. The strategy was to transcend tribal identities, fostering solidarity among Africans. Cultural movements like Negritude emerged, reclaiming African aesthetics and pride. Remember, the message was clear: colonial shame could transform into a source of strength. This unity catalyzed independence movements across Africa. Ghana's model inspired Algeria and Kenya, showcasing organized resistance strategies. For instance, Algeria's FLN received support from Ghana, proving that armed struggle could succeed. However, the movement faced significant challenges post-independence. By 1975, formal independence was achieved in all 54 African states. But tensions arose among leaders. Many preferred bilateral ties over unity, prioritizing national interests over collective goals. Pan-Africanism's evolution didn't stop post-independence. It became integral to the African Union's Agenda 2063, which promotes continental integration and economic cooperation. Today, it inspires movements like Black Lives Matter and pushes for reparations across the diaspora. In conclusion, Pan-Africanism is a living ideology. Its principles continue to influence politics, culture, and identity. Consider this question: how well does Nkrumah's quote, "Seek ye first the political kingdom, and all else shall be added unto you," resonate in modern movements? If you found this journey through Pan-Africanism insightful, please like and subscribe for more lessons on history and cultural movements. Together, we can explore how these ideas continue to shape our world today.